hour. I don't know. How would you say that? 45 after the hour. How about that? Let's go with that. We're going to get into... Yesterday, I talked about Tom Brady's 3 Hall of Fame careers. I was trying to figure out which of those 3 careers was the most impressive. We'll get into that. But first, here's Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Tired of cooking at home? Change it up without getting up. Just order Jersey Mike's through their app for no contact delivery or no contact at the door pickup. Jersey Mike's, be a sub above. So Patrick Mahomes has been playing with turf toe through the playoffs, and now that the season is over, he will reportedly undergo surgery Wednesday. That's tomorrow. Super Bowl was Sunday. Wednesday is when he's going to have surgery to repair it. The rehab will be several months, but Mahomes is expected to make a full recovery and be ready for the start of training camp. Now, I wanted to let a few days go before discussing this. I don't believe in excuses, but I do think there are reasons. And injuries are not fun to talk about. They're not sexy. It's not something we want to really evaluate in a big way when it comes to big games, because it does feel a little bit like it's in the excuse family. We didn't talk a whole lot about Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz being out before the game, because that's not, we want to talk about GOAT status and legacies.
Because it's football.
Right. Dynasties, right. But that obviously played a massive role in that game. And this turf toe situation did as well. He's having surgery tomorrow. He played in the biggest game of the year on Sunday. That means it's a very significant injury. If you know what turf toe is, in a way to describe it, imagine this is a foot. This big part of your toe right here is what's injured. So when you bend your foot to, say, run or throw, you're going to be in excruciating pain, which I'm sure he played through, which guys play through horrible injuries all the time in big games. Like I said, it's not an excuse, but it just could be a reason.
Well, so I think there is a difference between an excuse and an explanation, right? An excuse is trying to explain away, is trying to essentially say why something happened, why it wasn't your fault, when it probably was. An explanation is, wow, he didn't look like himself. What was going on? Oh, he was dealing with this, dealing with that. Now, what I will say on this front is, I do not think that if his foot was fully healthy, this game goes differently. I don't think the reason the Chiefs got annihilated was because Mahomes wasn't at a total 100%. What I will say is Mahomes hit me with the okie doke a bit by doing 2 things. One is he looked brilliant against the Bills, but the other one was, Joy, the shoes he wore off the plane. He was wearing velvet red loafers, no socks, no support. I'm like, oh, my man's foot's fine. You wouldn't wear those shoes if your foot was hurting you. But I was wrong. Like everything about this Super Bowl, I was wrong. I was trying to Zapruder his footwear choice. It did not serve me well, Joy.
No, and I don't think that Mahomes didn't play a good enough game to win. To my point, I don't think this is an excuse for why they lost. But I do think he was in a lot of pain, obviously, or he wouldn't be having surgery tomorrow. I think that the bigger, more significant injuries were on the offensive line. That's obviously what actually played a role. And had they been healthy, I do think this game would have gone differently. So Jerry Rice is one of the best players in NFL history. Many would argue the GOAT before probably the Atlanta Super Bowl and now. But his argument for the greatest of all time obviously has been diminished because of those accomplishments by Tom Brady. He pretty much solidified his space as the GOAT, at least in the NFL, with his 7th Super Bowl this season. And Jerry Rice concedes that Brady has earned the title, but he does think that Jerry, played in a more physical era.
I don't have 7 Super Bowl rings, but I think I played in an era where football was more of a contact sport. You're not seeing a lot of that now. Players are protected. When you got 7 rings, you're doing something right. So he said something about playing till he's 45. I think he can do it now in this league because players are so much more protected. So, yeah, he can have that GOAT status. I never wanted that status anyhow.
I will say I believe he is right. It is. I won't say it's less of a physical league now, but players are obviously more protected, particularly the quarterback position. All of the rules are more favorable to the offense, so he's definitely right about that. They've tried to get rid of the awful hits, and player safety is definitely improved. I do agree. I don't think that he is somebody who cares about being the GOAT. Now, all these guys are extremely competitive, but I've talked to him personally about the GOAT thing, and he has completely dismissed it. Like, he doesn't want to have that conversation. And I do think, to your point earlier about using logic, Tom Brady obviously cares about going down as the greatest of all time because it's something that matters to him, and that's not a negative thing. I think it's a great thing, but it's just also a reality. It's going to be skewed as a bit of a slight, what Jerry said there, but I don't think he was actually trying to take a shot. I think he was just explaining, like, Tom Brady can play at this level for as long as he is, albeit an outlier, because the game is a little bit different.
Okay, so there's a lot here. One is, like, of course, as time goes on, guys are going to be able to play longer. Conditions are going to improve, health, fitness, and the game's getting safer, right? And I'll use the NBA example. Larry Bird suffered his major back injury that kind of derailed his career because he was retarring his own driveway. Like, that seems like something that should have happened in 1946, not 1988. And so, like, yes, like the LeBron can sleep in a hyperbaric chamber and is probably not retarring his own driveway. So all of that, we have to kind of do the math in our head about what we're going to count, what we're not going to count, if we're going to discount anything. The question I would have for you, Joy, is do you think football is like basketball, where you can have one player who is at the top of the pyramid, or is it more like baseball, where, who's the greatest pitcher of all time and who's the greatest hitter of all time? It's not like you can't cross-pollinate those two. Because I would almost argue there's like best quarterback ever and then best non-quarterback ever, because it's such different jobs. And even if you go defensive side of the ball, best defensive player ever. I just don't know if this actual honorific exists in football.
No, you're absolutely right. Basketball is a little bit more positionless, although I would think that most centers would disagree with that. The game has changed a lot in that regard as well. But yeah, baseball obviously very different. How do you compare a catcher to a pitcher? Like football, you have three different.
Satchel Paige to Babe Ruth. What do you do?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just totally different people.
Yeah, and then you have kickers in football. Like, how do you compare everyone?
Sure.
I think it's just that Tom Brady has accomplished so much over such a broad spectrum of time that it's becoming kind of a nuanced argument. Like, he is obviously the best because of what he has accomplished individually and with the team success. And then we can start talking about other positions, because obviously Lawrence Taylor transformed the game. Like, where do you put him all time? Obviously Jerry Rice. You still have Joe Montana up there as well. Obviously, Tom Brady playing the same position.
Jim
People
Brown,
feel like
Deion.
they pass him. Jim Brown, Deion, yes. So it is a bit more of an argument. I think that Tom Brady's just accomplished so much that it's like, what's the point of trying to compare anyone to what Tom Brady has accomplished? So it starts after him. So the Lakers didn't have AD last night, but they were able to sneak past the Thunder with a 119-112 overtime win. LeBron stepped up in AD's absence with his third triple-double of the season, scoring 28 points, 14 rebounds, and 12 assists. This was the fifth win in a row for the Lakers, tying their longest winning streak of the season, and the second straight game that had to go to overtime. Anthony Davis and Alex Caruso did not play. I haven't heard you talk about this yet. I don't know if where you stand on this, but I was adamant that LeBron should have been the MVP last season. My preseason prediction for MVP was Luka, which is looking not so great now. I think that LeBron is putting together a really nice MVP resume so far heading into All-Star.
So last year, believe it or not, I didn't think it was LeBron. I thought LeBron could have caught Giannis, but the season ended too early for him to catch him. This year, I also picked Luka before the year, but the Mavs are a mess. This is so weird, because statistically, this is honestly like LeBron's 13th best season. Like, I think he's had 12 statistical seasons better than this one, and I think right now he is clearly the MVP. The Warriors are not good enough. They're out of the playoffs right now. The Nuggets keep losing games as good as Jokic is, and he's a one-way player. That Durant keeps missing time, and he's with Harden and Kyrie, so that's going to hurt him. To me, LeBron and Embiid are the only two legitimate candidates right now. And I think LeBron's going to win it. And I think the Lakers, we don't have to talk about it much here because I know we have Kevin coming up. I think the Lakers are demonstrably better than everybody else. I think and I understand overtime win against the Thunder doesn't demonstrate that. They are cruise controlling it for 3.5 quarters and then kicking it in at the end of games. I think they are clearly the best team by a decent margin. There is Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Kevin Clark from The Ringer joins us right now, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz.